But right now, Trisha Romance's art has traveled around the world, but her heart has remained in the beautiful community of Niagara-on-the-Lake, here in southern Ontario. She's one of those very gifted individuals who's been able to follow her own creative path and create paintings that most of us would like to wander into and stay a while. Her art is warm and inviting and centers around delightful family moments. Trisha, thank you for joining us here on Full Circle.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
It is
nice and cozy.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's been said that good art always evokes some kind of an emotional response. And I know that for me, your art just inspires me to have peace in my life. But I think we need to mention that really your art and your drawing began out of a traumatic experience in your life. When you were 4, you almost lost your vision.
It did. And the thing it is, too, as an artist, and I think most artists can relate to this, and is that you have to come to a place of peace before you can even create. And so, but at the same time, it appears that the enemy has been trying to get to me, even from the time I was 4 years old, when suddenly I developed this very serious eye infection, and this eye infection was for all intents and purposes, threatening my sight to a point of blindness. And so it was through my very, very faithful parents, faith-filled parents, who prayed and prayed over me, and had many people on a prayer chain praying over me. And the doctor declared basically this was a miracle to have, because they had no cure for what was going on with my eye. In fact, at first they thought it was smallpox. They didn't know what it was, and so it was, my eye had just basically turned to jelly, and my other one had already started to do the same thing. So, but it was during my recovery time in the hospital that relatives would bring, toys and things, which ended up going to the orphanage, because I wasn't allowed to keep any of those. They all went in bags to the orphanage, which was right beside the hospital. But what I was able to keep were my coloring books and little drawing pads, and I started to draw all the nurses and the doctors. And I began to paint my environment even at an early age, and it stayed with me the rest of my life. That my environment became, what I eventually, called my comfort zone with my work.
Wow. Would you have ever dreamed that you would be this world-renowned, famous artist?
No. Not in a million. In fact, as I traveled to Europe in a tent, I said, wow, this is total contentment. And whenever I'm with nature, I'm in total content. I'm not a spa person. I'm not a person who makes frequent trips to the spa, and because my spa is basically being out in nature, being out in the woods. And so when I finally got a chance to travel in a tent across Europe, it was one of those things that I said, oh my goodness, this is true contentment. I will be able to live like this happily the rest of my life, and never ever thinking. And of course, I was able to sketch and paint, and I was trading my work on the road with people and selling my work on the road, and never ever thinking that this was ever going to be the direction of my life, that it would reach many, many people, thanks to my husband, who, because my work was under my bed when he first met me, so thanks to him, it still would be under my bed.
Well, you were selling other people's artwork
I was selling. I didn't even have enough confidence to sell my own when I came back to Canada, and it was one of those things that God is so amazing if you will allow Him to lead your life and hold His hand. You say, you're in control, and boy, He takes you on a journey that will absolutely surprise you when you allow it.
I love what you said about peace, finding peace within yourself as an artist. And, it brought to mind this experience I had in Avignon, which is in the south of France. I was backpacking, and I just spent an afternoon there, and it's this beautiful old walled city. And there was this artist there selling her artwork. And I said to her, you live in this incredible city. She said she's lived there all her life. I said, do you ever just, it's not beautiful to you anymore? Do you take it for granted? And she said, you know what? And it's one of those moments, like you just know you're having a moment. She said, as long as you're at peace inside of yourself, then everything around you is beautiful.
Isn't that the absolute truth?
And I didn't know that about artists, but listening to you.
No, and it's difficult because when you do lead a busy life, and I swear, so again, the enemy so many times tries to work its way into my life, and I'm very aware of it. I'm very, very aware of it. Like, it'll be a day when I'm, okay, today I'm heading up to the studio, and then something major happens to the house, or something happens to one of my horses, or something, what? you know. And as my assistant said, never a dull moment in this place. I never know when I'm coming here what this day is going to present. I go, no kidding. It's the enemy always trying to work his way into my peace, into that place of peace.
So how important,
to destroy it.
How important is prayer to Trisha Romance?
Well, prayer is, from the time I was very, very young, been such an important part, but not in a form. It's actual relationship and conversation, more than formal prayer. Even though I was raised Catholic, which surrounds itself, basically, it's based on many formal prayers. I learned at a very early age that from the time I saw my first angel to where I am today, that it is basically conversation and saying, I am totally in your hands. And I have to depend on you for absolutely everything. And I spent this last summer out in the garden, as I was telling more earlier, and it has been such a lesson to me, because I decided, I wrote to my sister and said, everything that I learned in the garden this summer, I believe, were life lessons that again, God was showing me. Never in a million years would I have expected by working in my garden I would learn some of the things that I learned.
And this is Trisha, typical Trisha, looking on the bright side, looking for the beauty in a difficult place. Why were you in the garden all summer?
Right. Well, I have been facing arthritis in my hands, and it struck actually a couple of years ago. It came on very gradually, and one of the things I kept saying, oh, yeah, old age. You go, old age, it's not going to affect me. And then this year, the enemy truly, I believe, was working very hard at stopping me from painting. And so I went out into the garden because I heard that keeping your hands active, and I knitted during the winter time, and I thought, well, if you keep your hands active, and again, whenever I'm outside and in that place of total peace, like in nature, it helps you to forget all your troubles. And but by the end of the day, it was, oh my goodness, these hands just aren't, they would basically cramp up and not want to work. So yes, I've been diagnosed with arthritis.
That's on top of three abiding health issues. And on the subject of prayer, I have a mission in this segment. I said to Trisha, if we don't accomplish anything else, I want to encourage our faithful viewers to put Trisha Romance, and that is her real name, by the way. She lives it. She is it.
Born with that name.
A boy, she's become it.
Very natural.
Put her on your prayer list, because you experience warfare, spiritual warfare. Wow. It would seem daily.
It is. It seems daily, and it seems, and maybe it is the deeper or the farther my work travels into the hearts of many. And I was saying to you earlier, I am so grateful for the letters that I receive, phone calls, letters, and even the meetings that I have with people. The uplifting words that they bring to me are such a part of this battle in the warfare, because I think sometimes he can get you down and get you thinking, oh, no, this is it. This is the end.
Trisha, I can so attest to that, because we've been going through our own difficult season. My husband and I over the last few months, and we have heard from so many people across the country, emailing, writing cards and letters saying, we are praying for you, we are standing with you. And I know it just builds you up. It's like, yes, Lord, thank you. You sense the prayers, and you know you're getting strength from that.
Back in 1989, I had a nervous breakdown, and a series of 3, actually. Probably one of the most tremendous changes in my life ever imaginable, in terms of fighting and fighting for my life and fighting for my work and from the enemy. And it was basically, I believe to this day, and I still have every single one of them, every letter and every card that people sent to me, that seemed to arrive right at the exact moment when I needed it the most, when I was at my lowest. And I think that was all of God's people, when they stand together and fight the fight. I think it's important.
And you know, it's amazing, because you hear this, and then you look at your paintings, and you see family and peace and joy and light. And I think that's the as I was reading through your bios and we were doing research about you, that is an amazing, it's a strange, like, the pain that you go through, and yet in the pictures, reflections of God's peace.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, how many artists have you seen in the past who, if you read their bios, and you realize the struggles for whatever reason they had as well, and you just think, well, I'm not alone as an artist going through struggles by any means. It seems like we all seem to go through those things.